Hola, buenos días. Soy Nico.
Why make tone such a subject to say? If you are black and you're standing in it, stand in it in all shade.
And today we're here to talk about something that I feel like it's becoming more prevalent as more people are beginning to find their footing in the digital landscape, and that's the blue contact syndrome. Nico, essentially, blue contacts is what I associate with internalized hate. And listen to me, I know that's like a very polarizing opinion, but y'all have been wearing those pictures of those Aboriginal children who have blonde hair and blue eyes naturally into the ground for over 10 years now, and I'm kind of tired of it. It's just most Black people naturally do not have blue eyes. Some do. I've seen videos like one of my favorite YouTubers, she naturally has blue eyes, but that is not the norm. It's usually associated with white people. So actively going after blue eye contacts as your day-to-day visual aesthetic, it usually tells me the type of person I'm about to deal with. And I bring this up first and foremost because the video that I'm going to be addressing today, it revolves around somebody with blue contact syndrome, and they went viral on the timeline about a week ago. Not a reference to the Bobby Shmurda song. I'm just, But yeah, here it is.
Is it bad that I stem away from Black people? And I feel like the reasons that I'm about to provide is extremely valid, at least to me. So the reason why I stem away from people of my own race is because they've always treated me so horribly growing up, and they made me feel like that I don't belong. Literally in school, I was always made fun of by Black people for some reason. I was the target. Whether if you were white, Latin, Hispanic, Native American, Asian, it did not matter. Everyone of every race has welcomed me and made me feel like I was a part of them. They made me feel comfortable. They never had a problem with me. But with Black people, I was always made fun of. I was turned down. I just never felt like I was a part of them. In school, the only time that they were ever nice to me was when they wanted to get answers from me whenever we were doing schoolwork or a test, just so that they can get a good grade on their assignment. Now, me being the nice, shy kid trying to get out of my bubble, and they just never wanted anything to do with me. So in other words, they would use me and take advantage of me just to get a good grade for themselves, but never wanted anything to do with me outside of the classroom. Black people always made fun of me for hanging out with white kids. Black people always made fun of me for hanging out with the Latin and Hispanic kids. Black people always made fun of me for hanging out with the Asian. Black people always made fun of me for hanging out with goth and emo kids. Literally anybody of any race that I was hanging out with besides Black, I was pushed down for. And to this day, I only have like 3 Black friends. There was also a point in time where I did make some quote unquote friends who were also Black. And every single time that they wanted to hang out, they usually wanted to hang out to go to the stores and steal something. Now me, bitch, I'm not about that life. I obey the law. I told them, no, I don't do stuff like that. That's not right. And guess what? I got pushed down for that. And there was also a time where I was walking home from dance practice, and there were these 2 tall Black guys who ran up to me, pointed a gun at me, and stole everything that I had. Out in the open, cars were passing by, everything. Nobody stopped to look. Nobody stopped to help me. They stole my wallet, which only had my high school ID in there. They stole the money that I had just gotten paid that night because I used to perform at quinceañeras in schools and stuff like that, so we get paid for that. And they stole my purple.
But before we get started on this dialogue, if you like this kind of content, make sure to follow me on patreon.com/Nicosaesthetics for more exclusive lives, weekly videos, to be a part of the podcast. I actually had already did a 15-minute video on that Meek Mill situation, but because there is not enough actual evidence aside from like this person talking in chats and screenshots and like somebody's lower face and neck, I can't really run with that. So I might upload that on Patreon. If you're interested in hearing about the quote unquote exposing of Meek Mill being DL, I have all the information and all the tea available. But since I do not have a solid image of his face, I'm not going to put it on my platform and give this person who was looking for clout more clout in the process. But let's get started on today's actual topic. So today we're going to be talking about the blue contact syndrome. And as you saw from that video, basically this young gentleman, all his life he's had to fight. He's felt like he was never accepted by the Black community. He felt like he was always insulted for talking quote unquote white. And he feels like he's othered, not only in the Black community, but also in the gay community. I'm going to do a follow-up video on that one because I feel like that's a separate topic that we can address, but I wanted to tackle this one in particular because as someone who grew up, I liked anime. I liked Dungeons and Dragons. I liked Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I spoke Spanish. And I was also bullied by other Black people. Hell, even on YouTube, I have people come up to me and comment things like, why are you talking about Black issues? We don't talk about Selena. And my thing is, she was Mexican. I'm not Mexican. But you see how our community can be ignorant at times. We do not hold the structural power to be, let's say, racist, but Black people can be prejudiced and xenophobic. I've actively seen it multiple times. So going into this conversation, I'm going to say in 2023, girl, there's no excuse for running away from your Blackness. And I usually give people who live in other countries leeway when it comes to, let's say, contacts, skin lightening processes, because in other countries, it genuinely gives you an opportunity at a better chance of life. I mean, even in the US, we can look back at decades ago where the brown paper bag test was not only implemented by white business owners who were trying to hire employees, but also by HBCUs who only let a certain shade of Black people in. So I definitely understand having a complex around the entirety of Blackness as it pertains to certain individuals who are ostracized. But in 2023, where we have so many online communities, where we have so much access to information and other people, I genuinely do not see how you can actively run away from your culture, your race, and your history for the sole purpose of just because you have had bad interactions with some Black people in your life does not mean you should internalize that to the point that you are actively trying to run away from your own group of people. As I stated before, I was nerdy, I was quirky before I was quote unquote attractive, because I personally don't see myself as that attractive. I wasn't as accepted, but as I've come into my own skin, I'm still nerdy. It's just I've slowly matured as a person, and looking back, I can see, I was socially awkward back then. I was socially stunted. So that might have also been a part as to why I was being teased. I used to do the Naruto run where you throw your hands back so you can move faster. I was a little weenie. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was a weenie. So in this particular situation, I can't stand with him. And I don't know why people thought I would stand with that, just because I don't know if you've noticed, like if you actually watch my content, I talk about predominantly Black content. If you look at my social medias, all of my friends except maybe like 2 are Black and or brown. I am always at Black social events around Black people. I'm in Black gay clubs. I do scenes with Black and brown people. So I'm very pro Black and melanin. It's just that at certain points, I do disagree as to where, let's say, the conversation of you can't have white friends. I have a solid 2-3 white friends that I've been rocking with for over 8 years. In 2023, if you live in like a mixed area, especially because I'm from Texas, so you are bound to have friends that are not your race. I know that's usually a heavy conversation and people get so invested in the lives of other people that they kind of take away the sense of reality that comes with these conversations. But in this particular situation pertaining to him, somebody said it so eloquently: if you did not smack the taste out of somebody's mouth for calling you quote unquote white acting, making fun of you for your personality, making fun of you for your demeanor, and you harbor that until adulthood, and now you're taking it out on every Black person around you, that's more of a you issue, and we're not going to stand behind you just because you did not resolve that trauma. And I'm one of those people, I usually give grace until it involves downing your own race, because from the S curl to the blue contacts to, oh, I only have 3 Black friends and I actively avoid and disassociate from Black people, as a Black man, I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. And that's my thing. We as a community are all we really have in this world. That's always what I've been taught by my father, especially. And I understand that the Black community in itself does have strife, just because the homophobia, the colorism issues, the act of selling out a lot of people tend to do. But at the end of the day, when I walk into a room, I am most comfortable when I am around other Black people. Not saying that I can't be in a mixed crowd, but I would rather be in a room of Black people than be the one Black person in a sea of other races. Just for the sole fact that he was saying other groups of people, other races such as white, Asian, Latino, they were more accepting of him. But each one of those communities harbors blatant anti-Blackness. You know, anti-Blackness is worldwide. It's not necessarily just a US thing. Coming from a mixed cultural background, I can tell you colorism, anti-Blackness especially, is real in the Latino community. And we see it all the time in the Asian community, such as Black Lives Matter, right? We've seen comments like that happen all the time when there is a singular incident of a Black person and an Asian person recorded and put on the internet, and it becomes an entire controversy in itself. So to say that these other groups of people are more accepting of your Blackness than actual Black people for the sole reason that you were bullied when you were little, I don't agree with that. And this is coming from somebody who was bullied because I spoke Spanish. This is coming from somebody who was bullied because I was a nerd. I like Dungeons and Dragons and anime. And I know those are more cultural statements now, like Black people love anime. But back in the early 2000s, your bitch was the odd man out. But that didn't run me away from my Blackness. If anything, it made me want to reaffirm my Blackness. I actively got more into 90s R&B. I got more into hip hop culture. I got more into rap culture. So in that process of being bullied and teased, I guess I kind of became more immersed for the sole reason I wanted to assimilate rather than standing out so much. But I genuinely love the history that our group of people have. You know, I love the history that our music carries, the history that our food and our bloodline carries. So the concept of running from Blackness never made sense to me because I've always been told Black is beautiful. Like, you can't see it right here, but there's a mural. It's my family mural of my mom, my abuela, my tío, and my grandpa. And the shade range, it does something to me. Just seeing melanin in all shades has always been a beautiful thing to me. So even when I talk about like color context, experimenting with looks, hazel is cute, green is cute, you know, try something that really pops with your skin tone. Blue eyes on a Black person rarely looks good, especially because the game has not gotten good enough that they look realistic. Half of y'all are using gas station contacts. Y'all need actual prescription ones if you want it to look realistic. But actively denouncing your race while trying to assimilate into different groups via perming your hair, via blue contacts, via filters and hyper light fixtures to make yourself look lighter, I can't co-sign it. And, you know, this isn't like me harping on this person, but it's just adding my opinion into the overall dialogue, because it is okay to say I was harmed by my group of people, because honestly, I was called the F word by other Black people before I was ever called the N word by any group of people. And that's something that we just don't address in our community, because bullying, ostracizing, you know, it's real. And when we have these conversations, everybody likes to pretend that we're one big happy family. Maybe in adulthood, where we've learned to actually navigate social situations and control our own internal thoughts. But when you're growing up, it was the Wild Wild West, at least for me. But once again, that never deterred me from saying I am proud to be Black, no matter my cultural heritage and or mixings. I am proud to be around Black people. I am proud to embrace Black culture. But once again, that's just me, but I definitely want your opinions on the blue contact complex. How do you feel about people who actively try to change their physical features to run away from their Blackness, while also denouncing Black people based on their history with Black people? How do you feel about other Black people who are actively running away from the Black community, consistently saying that other communities are more accepting and or uplifting? Meanwhile, there's a recorded history of anti-Blackness and or racism attached to the communities that they are trying to cling to. I definitely want to hear your opinions down below, but if anything, just try to make sure that you keep the dialogue respectful, as I always say, because we can come here, we can exchange opinions and ideologies, but make sure that it is an actual dialogue and not just mudslinging. Because honestly, I could have called him a few names. Few names came to mind. And back in the day when I was on YouTube, I was a lot more, I would have given him the business. But I can tell that this is coming from a place of trauma that was never resolved, and they're actively running from confronting it. That's why I'm trying to take a more lenient approach of I just don't understand why, instead of combating your trauma, you're choosing to double down and reaffirm in it, and then emphasize it by bringing it to public knowledge. But yes, definitely drop your opinions down below. And now for a brief yet sincere shout out to this week's Third Eye Tier subscribers, Arthur and Ronell AW II. Your continued support is greatly appreciated. And this week's live streaming discussion is going to be over growing up queer in Black and brown communities. We have a very multifaceted panel, so I'm excited to hear what you all have to say. If that sounds interesting to you, definitely tune in.